I love locker rooms, and I was the funny guy in my locker room. I like to be the clown and make everybody. I was one of the captains of my team. I just like to drive everybody to have a good time. Is there a particular player from last year and going into this season that stands out the most, the leader, the funny guy of the clubhouse?
Yeah, I mean, I think every clubhouse has that guy, and it's basically, here it's been a tradition. It's kind of been passed on from year to year, but we started making some national headlines with just some of the skits that our players would do after games. And it'd be on the SEC network, and it started going viral on social media. But, a guy like Tyler LaPlante, who was a left-handed Sunday guy for us, kind of started, and really, pitchers have a lot of time on their hands. So it tends to be a pitcher that's really opposed to the skits and the goof around stuff. But, we've got a new guy coming up that just loves the game, and he just loves being at the field every day. And his name's Eric Menzel. It's kind of, was a freshman last year and just enjoyed having a lot of fun when he's on the bench. And, he's going to be an impact player for us. And we'll, I think sometimes those rules change as you move from a bench player to an everyday player. But, I know that we'll have somebody step up, and we'll have that just we like to have fun at the ballpark. And, I had an assistant coach that was working for me and just said, hey, when we played you guys, your team laughed. They had fun. He goes, did you ever notice that nobody smiles in the SEC? And I was kind of like, no, I didn't. But, I think some of that just me being laid back and is the fact that, I'm used to a 162 game schedule, and, and you start with spring training and you play, 20 games, and you go to winter ball and you might play 40, 50 games. But, I think maybe that you just understand that in the big picture that things will work themselves out. Although, in a 56-game season, it's about what we're getting ready to see now. It's a sprint to the finish line, so every game means so much, and maybe that's why there's not a lot of smiling going on game day. But we like to kind of keep it light and have a lot of fun in our program.
You were talking about the major leagues and your time playing there. You actually played for the Mets and the Pirates. So talk about your experiences in the majors, and also what are some of the differences between an MLB locker room that you see and now coaching these college kids? What are some of the differences?
He didn't have to play for the Wilpons.
True.
Yeah, well, just my career in general. Obviously, the length of it, it was a 13-year professional career, but the length in the big leagues just, wasn't as long as I would have enjoyed. I was when I broke in with the Mets, I was the oldest rookie to wear a Mets uniform, and that was broken, I think, later that year with Sean Gilbert. But it's a dream come true to get to that level. It was something that I was, I was determined whether I was going to be, 45. I was going to find my way to the major league, and I just kept working extremely hard. But like they say, the major leagues kind of, it separates, getting there is very difficult, but, it's even tougher to stay there, especially as a 29-year-old rookie. But it was just so special. I mean, I remember opening day still, we opened up in San Diego, and at that time I'd already been familiar with all, the superstars that were on the Mets team at that time. But, we're opening up, and Ricky Henderson's leading off, and that was a childhood hero of mine of being a base stealer. And, you got Tony Gwynn in the 3-hole, and, the Killer Bees. It was just, it was so, it was just kind of surreal, and just really enjoyed every moment of that. But kind of the second part of your question is, the difference, and this took me some time to adjust to, especially going from pro ball to high school. And, college is a little bit more rah-rah. There's a lot of cheering on the bench. There's there's in pro ball, there's just not a whole lot of talking. You go out and you do your job, and the locker room, you have fun after the game, I think, at the pro level. But it's just really all business when you're out there on the field. And I think there's just more, a little bit, and rightfully so, there should be. You look at a college roster, and in our case, we, each year we may have 7 guys, anywhere from 5 to probably 10 guys that got a chance to go pro, and the other 25 are not pro players. So they're there to, have they're really focusing on their college career. But, there's some similarities, but there's more differences probably than similarities.
I want to get into some MLB conversation with you. You played in the MLB and the transition of the DH. Now, there are stories coming out from the National League with the new CBA coming out probably in the next year or 2 years that they're going to transition to the DH position for the National League. The American League has had it for over, I think, 30 years now or 40 years. And you look at baseball and it changes the game around, especially in the National League when the coaches and the managers have to really use a lot of aggressive play, especially in the 8th and ninth inning with their pitching staff and maybe even some of the guys in the field. Are you upset that if the National League or the league completely transitions into a DH in the National League?
I don't think I would say I'm upset. I know as a coach, I would rather manage in the National League because I just think, I love the intricacies of the game and the double switch and all those things that, it just becomes a chess match with the other team. And as a coach, I would really enjoy and embrace those challenges of having to manage that. But, as a college coach, you're seeing the same thing because we have the DH. There's still things that you've got to make good decisions on. It's probably really more designed around pitching changes than it is around, maneuvering lineups and everything else. But I do believe as a fan, I think I would enjoy adding that extra hitter in the National League. I just don't think a pitcher that doesn't spend a whole lot of time of honing his craft as a hitter goes up and is almost they're almost an automatic out. That it's super exciting when a pitcher steps to the plate and I just like I think we all like to see offense and there's more of a chance for offense and I also believe it helps it helps to get another everyday player in the lineup. Now it hurts probably somebody like myself as I was coming up of I needed to be in the National League to get to the big leagues because of my versatility and having some value as a bench player. But, I guess that's a roundabout answer, but I'm torn between a lot of different things. I think we'll adjust to that DH and see it as normal in time, but it does take away some of the managerial moves and stuff like that I always thought was interesting.
We've talked to a lot of coaches and a lot of coaches that played in the major leagues or they're big baseball fans. They do not like, and we've talked to even writers, they do not like the fact that they're trying to implement the DH position to the National League. I'm very surprised for a player like you who actually played in the major leagues in the National League, that you would absolutely think about moving the DH into the National League. So I'm very surprised, but you know what? That's something unique. So that's the greatness of talking to somebody that's actually played in the major leagues and understands the National League to the American League.
The Pirates broadcaster we had him on, he went
he was
about
upset.
6 minutes on that.
He was
alone.
upset.
Yeah.
He was upset at Coach. He was upset at us that we asked him that question.
I love offense. I'm an offensive-minded guy, and if we can bang the ball around the yard and score a lot of runs, I think that's exciting. And when I say that, I mean, people would probably classify me as the coach in the SEC that probably plays the most small ball as well. So, but I just love to see offense and I enjoy watching really good hitters. And I think, there's some really good hitters that might not be able to get on the field in any other form other than DH.
Last question from me. I've asked a lot of baseball and softball coaches this. The format of the College World Series and the regional tournaments, I always found it strange that it was very different than a lot of the other college sports where it really benefits the top seeds with the regional locations. And again, it's the only sport that has that. Hockey, basketball, everything else has all neutral sites for the most part. Are you in favor of that kind of system where they do get that kind of benefit, or do you think it should be more neutral like other college sports?
I love the college model of it, and I guess it's because you do play 56 games that kind of get to that point, and we know how the game of baseball works. I mean, anybody can beat anybody on a given day, and I think getting over the long haul, this gets the best teams. You get your final 6 teams, you get the best teams in the College World Series, and there's always that Cinderella that comes through, and those are. I think it's just it makes for a great story every single year to kind of see how it all breaks down and who ends up in the College World Series. But the one thing I do know is that home field advantage um, in baseball and having that home crowd, it's huge. I mean, when you look in the SEC, the percentage of games that are won at home, last year we were 4-1 in 5 home SEC uh, weekends, and you look across the league, and everybody is winning more at home, and I think just that the fan base makes it much more difficult for an 18 to 22-year-old kid to deal with some of the stuff that you're going to deal with at a major league park, and the fans kind of booing you, and they get that taste. And I just think college baseball is it needs to be different than professional baseball. It's just a different level, and I think it just adds a different excitement to the game to see it kind of at the amateur college level, and then also to see it at the pro level.
What are your thoughts to the major leagues implementing the electronic umpire behind the plate? And what were your thoughts when the Astros got caught cheating? And do you think the MLB did enough on dropping the hammer on that organization?
As far as the electronic umpire, I really enjoy the human element of the game. I think it's something that it's another strategy that and again we'll adjust to. I think players will adjust to whatever the rules are. But when you understand an umpire and you understand the zone as a pitcher and you're able to exploit it, and that as a hitter you've got to make those adjustments. I mean, it's just such a cat and mouse game of if it's an electronic umpire, it's through the box or it's not through the box. If it's a human, maybe it's a ball off the plate, but he's not getting it in. But I just think that I hate to see the game change so drastically, and I think that would be a very drastic change in the game. And then the same token, if my favorite team I'm watching kind of loses a game because of a bad call or whatever, from there you're like, we need electronic umpires. So I think it's something that I'm intrigued by it, but not really sold on that fact. But for the Astros, I really, and I'm an expert in the professional area because so much of my time is just focused on the college game and really paying attention to the college game. I will say that umpire everywhere that we go, that system is somebody. The Astros weren't the first ones to think of trying to use a system like that. I think it's thought of just about everywhere. Everybody's trying to gain that edge, and it's such a competitive environment. And just really, I don't believe that that's the way to do it. I love the part of if I'm at second base and the opposing team is not protecting signs and I'm able to see in and they're being very sloppy and helping a teammate, that electronically is just not the way to kind of get that edge. But that's been in baseball of if you're on first base and the catcher's sloppy with the signs and you can see and you've got ways that you're working with the guy that's in the lineup with you, and you guys kind of have a little code system that works. I just think that's part of the game, but definitely not electronically. And I don't know what the penalty, I don't know what the penalty should be. I do think that that's hard for people that's higher than me and really didn't think a whole lot about the penalty phase of it. But I do know that as a player that would disappoint me because you're talking about, not only winning and losing a ball game, you're talking about players' careers, and I know how difficult it is. Sometimes, a pitcher may only get one shot, and he failed. So, if he was being cheated out of that opportunity, then that would be very depressing as well.
Coach, why don't you tell all the fans how they can find you on social media?
My Twitter handle is just my last name, Bieser, SR. And also, the Mizzou Baseball account, just Mizzou Baseball, at Mizzou Baseball. That's another way to follow, really kind of and track our team there. But, the one format I use is basically just Twitter. I don't really, it took me a while when texting first came out. To start texting, and I think I'm kind of slow advancing in my social media game as well. I do enjoy the information that I find from Twitter, and do like to put a little bit out there as well.
Well, Coach, when the new baseball season starts for you and for the MLB, we'd love to get you back on and get your input with Missouri baseball and where you're going in the future. So we would love to get you back on.
thank you. I enjoyed our time, and you guys stay safe up there.
You too, Coach. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.